Sleepy town settled for the night, where every lawn is tailored just right. And it's about time that the back porch light comes on. At that house down the street, at that house on Magnolia Street.
Whoa.
Holy glare.
There
You look like an angel.
look like the 4th of July.
Oh, makes me want a hot dog real bad. How are your bagels?
They're sitting on the counter.
Yum.
I'm like, I'm not gonna put them in the oven and trying to get up every 20 minutes to go check on them.
Yeah.
But they look good. They're huge. I don't know why I made them so goddamn big. They're like doorstops.
You like boil them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you do the rising of the dough. You smash it down. You make your bagel shape, and then you boil them, and then you bake them.
That sounds so good. I'm gonna go for a bagel right now.
Love me some carbs.
Dude, I have canker sores like all over my fucking mouth right now. It hurts so bad to even
Sorry.
drink coffee because there's one like right on my the underside. So like to put a coffee cup up to my mouth right now.
I'm sorry.
And there's one here and one
man.
under my tongue. I don't know
You
what
said you get them around your period?
I do, and then I also get them when I eat like a lot of fruit or drink a lot of like juice.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I had fruit at my grandmother's for Mother's Day this past weekend. I had like strawberries and cantaloupe, and I don't know if that like on top of my period that I just got over, I don't know if that like
All the
triggered it.
acid.
They're all over.
I'm
And
sorry.
so you might be doing a lot of the talking today.
Oh
My
no.
mouth hurts.
Do you have any Orajel?
I don't. I
You
don't.
gotta
have-
pick some up today. That shit's
Yeah.
great. Your whole mouth is just like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I've had it before. Yeah, they're everywhere.
I hear you. Okay.
Hey, which hey, I'm Justina.
I'm Christina.
Welcome to Magnolia Street, your one and only practical, musically inspired, practical magic podcast.
This is gonna be Bees Part 3 all over
Oh
again.
my god. Let me open my notes. That I never have
That
my
would
notes
help.
open, and yeah, hold on. Let me open.
Every week, we deep dive on different aspects of the movie and the books, as well as treat your ears to our very own practical magic inspired original music.
This week we're actually covering Floromancy. And now, as we know, there's so much botanical magic mentions in this story, right? And our podcast aims to highlight each of these more in depth on their own individual episodes. So this episode will kind of just be an overview of the practice itself and not so much a list of the specific uses for each of the flowers. So this episode, we're focusing in on young Sally's true love spell called Amas Veritas.
Yeah, and Amas Veritas roughly translates in Latin to true love. True love.
Woo love.
Amas, to love, or amat, he, she, it loves, and amator in ancient Rome was a friend or lover. Veritas is actually a Greek goddess as well, we're going to talk about later. Roman mythology, Veritas, classical Latin meaning truth, is the goddess of truth, the daughter of Saturn, called Cronus by the Greeks, the titan of time, perhaps first by Plutarch, and the mother of Virtus. More on her later.
Yeah, as we discussed in previous episodes, this was completely different than the love spells, say, that Irene was looking to cast, right? Check out our love spell episode, that was episode 15 in season 1. Sally wasn't trying to kidnap a man, right? Which is what Irene was trying to do. She was going against the whole free will thing. Sally was just requesting in general, right? But she was listing specific qualities in a person, whoever that person may be. She was requesting a general man with these qualities. She wasn't like
Naming names.
yeah, she wasn't like Gary Hallett. I want that guy.
Yeah,
Give me
from
that guy.
Arizona. Serial number.
Yeah. She wasn't like seeking out a specific man. She just wanted these qualities in a man that Gary just so happened to possess. So later, when Gary comes to town and during his time sniffing around Magnolia Street, us as the audience start to notice that he might very well fit the criteria of the spell that Sally had cast when she was just a child. We've touched on a lot of these characteristics and qualities in past episodes, especially in the Gary Hallett episode. I'm pretty sure we talked about all this, but we'll just touch on them again here briefly. So during the scene when he's flipping pancakes, Sally's in the kitchen preparing breakfast as well. And they can both be heard humming the same tune, not whistling, which is what she technically asked for in her spell, but close enough, right? He's humming along her favorite song. Next, he's flipping pancakes in the line like her spell. Also, he is a man of the law, so he has a star badge, which Sally informs him is his talisman. As we know in the Amas Veritas line, his favorite shape will be a star. Then she eventually notices he has the one green eye, one blue, which was also in her love spell. Check out our heterochromia episode.
That was a good one.
And then the scene before Gary defeats Jimmy's ghost with his star badge in the attic, he must have heard that she was in distress because he shows up ready to take on Jimmy, so he clearly hears her call a mile away, right? So it's like all these different things coming into play that they're a little subtle. When Gary ends up coming to town, they're a little subtle, so you don't really notice everything right away until Sally has that aha moment at the B&B when they're kissing and she sees his eyes. And she's like, oh my God, one green eye, one blue.
Totally.
That's kind of like as an audience that she points it out to us. And then like we might have picked up on a little like, you know, some of those things before that scene. But that's the scene where she like points it out. It's obvious to us that that's the guy, right?
And the kiddos, little Antonia and Kylie, are kind of the first ones to notice because Antonia and him are flipping the pancakes and she overhears them humming. And then she's like rifling through his jacket and she finds the star. And then we didn't even list it on here, but they're riding the pony backwards. And he says, yeah, I can ride it backwards, forwards, whatever.
Yeah, a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, and it is very subtle. Like the heterochromia stuff kind of like jumps out at you.
Yeah.
But like the hearing your call a mile away, that one I don't think we put together until we did the show.
Recently, right, yeah. And then there was something else I was gonna say. Oh yeah, and then Kylie finds the diary, right? When her and Jillian are making that little potion to send Gary away. Kylie finds that diary with all her mom's spell, the love spell. So they kind of like have access to this little point in their mom's life when she was a little girl that Sally, like who knows how long that diary was in an attic somewhere collecting dust. Who knows how Kylie found it. So Sally clearly has forgotten all of this stuff. Like you do stuff as a kid that you forget about because it was so many years ago. And now Kylie and Antonia find this little bit of that love spell that Sally did. So they're aware of the signs before Sally actually sees them.
That's true. She probably totally forgot about all that stuff she wrote.
Yeah.
Wow, good point. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Floromancy in addition, which is slightly different, but it still falls under the umbrella. Floromancy, herbology, and plant symbiology, which are all intertwined. Botanomancy is also considered a general term for divination, which uses plants or plant parts, as well as anthromancy, daphnomancy, dendromancy, foliomancy, and psychomancy. Psychomancy?
What is? Oh, it's fig leaves.
Yeah, it's Sycomancy. Okay. In psychomancy, fig leaves are used. The diviners wrote names and questions or letters on leaves, which were then exposed to the wind. Those remaining furnished the answers sought. 1939, J. Trachtenberg, Jewish Magic, page, I guess this is 219, says, plants were also utilized in botanomancy, says on Monday evening after sunset. Go into a field and find the yellow broadleaf mallow. Face the east and dig a hole there. Bow. Encircle the spot once, bow again to the east, and recite a charm which concludes, if my virtue is to prove successful, then you must remain in bloom. If not, then you must drop to the earth. Return in the morning and learn how your undertaking will turn out. So the practice of divination can be traced all the way back to the ancient Druid priests who worshiped the spirits of the trees, especially the oak. There are also a number of botanomancy references in the Old Testament, and the Romans used this mode of divination as well. Botanomancy is a form of pyromancy.
So like divining with fire.
Okay, so a method here lists any group of herb or low woody plant with often showy heads or spikes of 5-parted regular flowers can be used, usually vervain and or briar, a plant with thorny or prickly wooded stems were used. The leaves of the sage and fig trees were also used for another type of oracle. Omens were drawn from the smoke and the ashes generated. Sometimes the questions for which answers were sought were carved upon the branches prior to their burning. Interpretations were also made from the crackling sounds made when certain plants were thrown into the fire or crushed in the hands.
That's really cool.
Isn't it cool? I've never heard of
Yeah.
this in my life.
I always like assumed like pyromancy is kind of like scrying but with fire. Like you kind of like get into that zone and just like look at the fire and like try to see pictures, but I never thought of like incorporating the sound of it too.
Or
That's
the
really neat.
ashes that remain after.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
So this little next part is from hogwartsschool.net, but I
Oh
thought
my
it
God.
was just kind of like summed it up a little bit more. So Floromancy is a type of divination that takes omens from flowers, leaves, plants, trees, colors, and the time of planting, along with other things. Across time and cultures, flowers have been associated with magical and divine properties. Their appearance and the messages they bring diviners make them the perfect tool for fortune telling and magical enchantment. Different cultures use different methods to divine omens from flowers. One of the most popular uses for floromancy is love divination, to find out the state of your love life for the years ahead. The best prophecies can also be divined from floromancy when paired with other divinatory methods and techniques, kind of like the he loves me not method of pulling those little petals off the flower. You're
Right.
looking for that omen. It's not so much putting this plant into a cauldron or this plant into your spell. It's looking for those omens that the natural world is going to give you.
So we see in this scene in which grown-up Sally and the aunts exit the post office and walk through the town. The sudden shift of the breeze causes the leaves on the trees to fall all around, and Sally, as she walks by, we theorize that this was the point in their lives where Gary wishes for Sally too, right? But do you think like he might have wished for her on the pony, like when we see him as a child, like the flashback?
Oh,
You don't think like that was the moment when he wished for her too, and then the petals like fell on his face, and then he was like, "All right, well, I guess that means something," and then they didn't find out till years later. I don't
I just
know.
think it's interesting that her letting go of the leaf is her call to him to come back at the end of the movie. So I was taking those leaves as like their connection, like he's connected with leaves.
Yeah, 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 I could see that. So both Franny and Jet notice this, which gives them pause, right? They turn around, they're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
Um, even they're like, "That's a little weird."
What in the random?
Which says a lot for them because they're fucking weird. So they take a second to look as the leaves fall. They both have this like quite the quizzical look on their faces, and because they have no knowledge of Sally's Amas Veritas spell, there's like nothing overtly saying that they have this information, right? Like we don't think that they know about her spells. Maybe they
Right,
do.
right.
We don't know. Maybe they interpreted it the wrong way because the
But
leaves fall, right? The leaves fall after she sees Michael and she kind of trips. So
right.
maybe they took the leaves as a symbol, like, oh, that's the guy, that's who we need to connect her with. But actually, the leaves were for Gary
Hmm.
the moment that she saw Michael, which was like a weird cross communication in the cosmos for the aunts, it seems.
Exactly. Yeah, they probably saw the leaves come down, and then Sally and Michael share that little look,
Yeah.
and they were like, okay, all right, that must have been that omen. But little did they know she did a spell, the Amas Veritas spell, so many years prior.
Yeah. I mean, this was never written in stone. Like, the writers never made it known that the leaves were Gary from her spell as a child, but that's
Right.
just our interpretation, and I think that makes so much sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
totally.
Yeah, so let's go through the Amas Veritas scene step by step. So this scene opens with a wide view inside the greenhouse. It's nighttime. It's looking through the greenhouse into the kitchen, and young Sally is at that center table with all the beautiful glassware, and she's reaching for flowers that are in a vase before her, and her sister Jillian enters and she says, "What are you doing?" And she's in that killer kimono. The flowers that she's reaching for, we have photos in our show notes for you guys that are on our Patreon, so you don't have to go searching. These flowers appear to be white roses, and Justina and I went in depth on roses back in episode 40, so check that out. Sally replies saying that she's summoning up a true love spell called Amas Veritas. And as she turns around to the cabinet behind her, she plucks another little set of small white flowers from a bundle. And these looked to me like Paperwhites, partially because we can also see a bundle of them in the foreground to the right of this scene. The picture Justina and I are looking at, in the bottom left corner, there's another little bundle there of Paperwhites. So Sally is just going through and picking flowers and manifesting her true love. Hear my call a mile away, whistle my favorite song, ride a pony backwards, flip pancakes in the air, he'll be marvelously kind, and his favorite shape will be a star. And her hand gets a few close-ups, reaching for rose petals. As she's saying these things, the camera is following our actress, little Camilla Bell, from behind the plants, as if we're like peeking in on her ritual from outside, basically, outside viewing. And however, there is the one plant that does get a close-up, which I always thought was star jasmine, because it's such a lovely little white flower, until I really looked at it and took these notes. So we do have our cute little paperwhite flower showing its face again. And I did like a reverse image search. I was like, is this what I'm fucking looking at? True enough, it's a little paperwhite.
Oh.
Then the scene cuts to young Jillian turning around in her kimono, and the cluster of flowers, those paperwhites, can be seen again behind Jillian as she asks, I thought you never wanted to fall in love. It's over her left shoulder toward the like right third of the screen. So it looks like they just filled this greenhouse with roses and paperwhites. They're so pretty.
Yeah. I wonder what the reasoning for that was.
I don't know. I did include some about paperwhites I think you'll tell us about, and maybe we can find it in context there.
Okay.
So when it finally comes time to release all those intentions into the night, she has all those flower petals in the bowl. But when we look at this bowl, it appears there's only the rose petals that she's holding in the bowl. I can't see any little paperwhites in there. So even as the petals rise into the night, all of the petal shapes are very similar, and it doesn't look like any of the paperwhites made it into the bowl. Maybe she was pressing them into her book.
Yeah, because in the scene when Kylie is kind of like showing Jillian in the pantry when they're making the syrup, aren't there like dried flowers pressed into that notebook? The book
There
sheet,
are. I'm not
the
sure what
journal?
they are, though.
Maybe they're the paperwhites.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. So with Amas Veritas, do you have any, do you want to talk about the scene at all from your point?
I don't really have anything else other than comparing Sally's Amas Veritas spell to the like he loves me not. It's like a nod to the old Floromancy spell that we all know, but she kind of put her own spin on it, which I thought was really cool.
It makes me think of, didn't they do this in the Crucible? Would this be considered Floromancy using a fruit? Don't you peel an apple and then you throw it over your shoulder and it makes the initial of the guy you're going to marry?
I never heard of that one.
What?
I don't
Okay.
remember that. I don't remember that. They did that
Okay.
in the Crucible?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch that again. I haven't watched it in a long time. But yeah, I just thought it was cool how they incorporated that as her love spell, but kind of revamped for
Totally.
this movie.
I remember learning what Amas Veritas was. I was like, what is this Latin? I was in 7th grade. And you've seen my circa 2001 spell book. And I felt so freaking smart using Ask Jeeves to translate it.
Ask Jeeves. Holy shit, that's a name from the past.
So with Amas Veritas in mind, I stumbled across, you guessed it, some Greek mythology surrounding this because, of course, the words are Greek in origin. But I didn't know that Veritas is actually a Greek goddess. We mentioned her a little bit before. No idea. So her name is actually Veritas. So Roman goddess Veritas holds a significant place in mythology as the embodiment of truth. Keep that in mind. Believed to be the daughter of Kronos or Zeus, Veritas is often depicted as a young woman dressed in white, concealing herself within a sacred well. We're going to get into wells in a little bit. With extraordinary abilities like telepathy and the power to compel humans to tell the truth, Veritas also possesses remarkable agility, speed, and strength. In Greek mythology, Veritas finds a counterpart in Althea, we talked about a couple episodes ago, the goddess of truth. Through fables, paintings, and even Roman novels, Veritas' influence extends to modern society, emphasizing the value of truth and integrity. So her origins are shrouded in mythological tales. Some texts attribute her parentage to Kronos, also known as Saturn in Roman mythology, while others suggest Zeus as her father. This ambiguity adds an intriguing layer to Veritas' lineage and reflects the complexity of her divine nature. Let's talk about Althea a little bit. That just is such like an old Southern lady name to me.
It's like Medea. Medea.
Love it. So a parallel figure to Veritas in Greek mythology is Althea, the goddess of truth. While both goddesses symbolize truth, their respective cultures' context offers unique perspectives on the concept. The comparison between Veritas and Althea emphasizes the universality and timeless relevance of truth in human belief systems. So Veritas is commonly depicted as a young goddess dressed in white, symbolizing purity and the unadulterated nature of truth. Her choice of attire underscores her connection to divine relations and reinforces the importance of upholding truth in all aspects of life. In artistic representations, Veritas' white attire signifies her association with truth and serves as a visual reminder that truth shines brightly and cannot be obscured or corrupted. So, an intriguing aspect of Veritas's portrayal is her affinity for hiding in sacred wells. This elusiveness signals the elusive nature of truth, which often requires introspection and diligent pursuit to uncover. So a little bit here about wells in folklore I thought is interesting because they're everywhere, not just in like Celtic sites, but we saw some up in Iceland and I'm sure they're all over the world. But this site that I'm pulling from had so much, mostly related to Celtic and UK lore surrounding wells. So check out our show notes for the links if you'd like to read more. So Greek wells and fountains were sacred to various goddesses and had miraculous powers, such as the fountain of Kanathos, in which Hera regained her virginity every year. Greek springs were the haunts of water nymphs, elemental spirits shaped like lovely young girls. In fairy tales, heroes were sent on long journeys to the well at the end of the world or to springs in the dark heart of the forest, ordered to retrieve a vial of the water of life, usually for a wicked fairy. A few drops from this water confers beauty, wisdom, fluence in language of animals, and or immortality. Sometimes the heroes partake of the waters themselves, deliberately or accidentally, and sometimes they bring the vial back intact. The fairy drinks, expecting to gain more power, and is cleansed of her wickedness instead. Other wells in fairy tales contain enchanted frogs, talking heads, imprisoned trolls, and fearsome-looking snakes who turn out to be wise and good. But beware of old women who linger by the well, for they are usually fairies in disguise and cranky. You've been warned. Up until the 19th century, the holy wells of West Country were still considered to have miraculous properties and were visited by those seeking cures of disease, disability, or mental illness. Some wells were famous for offering prophetic information, generally determined through the movements of the water or leaves floating upon the water or fish swimming in the depths. At some wells, sacred water was drunk from circular cups carved out of animal bone, an echo of the cups carved out of human skull by the ancient Celts. Pins, usually bent, coins, bits of metal, and flowers are common well offerings, and rags, called clouties, are tied to nearby trees, the cloths representing disease or misfortune that's left behind. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
There is a song by Stan Rogers called Witch of the Westmoreland. Highly recommend it. It's really cool. It's about like healing waters, and the Witch of the Water cures this knight errant. And
Oh, that's cool.
It's a great song. Back to the goddess Veritas. She possesses extraordinary abilities that highlight her divine status and role as a guardian of truth. And as far as telepathy and mind reading, this enables her to communicate and read the minds of others. This ability allows her to discern the truth from falsehood, giving her an advantage in maintaining the integrity of truth. Compelling truthfulness. Under Veritas's divine curse, humans become compelled to speak the truth. I only speak the truth. Like,
Hold up.
what?
So is that why Sally couldn't lie to him?
Exactly. Yep, this curse serves as a powerful mechanism to enforce honesty and expose falsehoods, ensuring the prevalence of truth in human interactions.
Because
that is so sneaky.
he was her true love, and she did the Amas Veritas, quote, Amas Veritas true love spell. Do you think that when Sally, do you think she made this spell up, or do you think she found this in one of the aunt's books, like their spell book?
I feel like she
Because-
found it in the books, but this production team,
Yeah.
for them to use that, I wonder if they even looked into this goddess, because they had to have.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Because I'm thinking, okay, so when you're a kid, right, you kind of take things at face value. You don't really look too far into them, right? So I'm thinking maybe Sally was flipping through the aunt's book looking for a true love spell. She came across Amas Veritas, the true love spell. She was like, all right, this one looks good. And maybe she put her own spin on it. Maybe the whole like walking through the greenhouse, picking these flowers, saying, you know, all the qualities she wants in a man. Maybe she just, you know, maybe she kind of was just going with it, putting her own spin on it. But in essence, the Amas Veritas true love spell, maybe she didn't know that in turn, by performing this true love spell, she would never be able to lie to her true love.
Maybe. My other thought is she's reading out of her own journal. I don't see the Book of Shadows anywhere in there. So maybe she did make it up.
Yeah, so yeah, we will never know. We don't know, you know, she could have found it in the aunt's book, but then, like I said, put her own spin on it, and that's what we see in her journal.
Right.
Maybe she just took the bits that she thought was cool from the spell, and she just was like, all right, I like this, I like this. Maybe I'll use that. Maybe I'll not use, you know, some of the other stuff.
We've all been there.
Yeah, so maybe it had even more of an effect, because you know that they say when you create your own spell, they are more powerful that way.
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm totally seeing her like finding something in the Aunt's Big Book of Shadows and then taking
Tweaking
it,
it.
kind of reinventing it, making it her own, but not really realizing that that intention is still kind of, it comes with that love spell, that,
Mm-hmm.
intention that if she does this spell, she will not be able to lie to her true love no matter what.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
kind of works against her in the whole murder case because she's trying to keep this
Under
crime
wraps.
away from her true love.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of like a double-edged sword. I don't know.
Yeah. Just in the translation, right, that we learned,
Yeah.
Amas Veritas. Veritas is truth, Amos is love. So
Yeah.
they could have just been going off of that, but to dig deeper and find out that it is associated with a goddess that you cannot lie, it's
Yeah.
impossible to lie, is so cool.
That is cool. I didn't know that it was tied to a goddess until you just read this all to me right now. So my mind is blown.
Cool.
That's cool.
Well, not only that, she's associated with agility, speed, and strength. Veritas possesses superhuman physical abilities, including agility, speed, strength. These enhanced attributes further emphasize her divine status and highlight her role as a formidable guardian of truth. By delving into mythologies behind Veritas, we gain a deeper understanding of her origins and her counterpart in Greek mythology, her iconic representation, and her divine abilities. These elements contribute to Veritas' significance and reinforce the timeless value of truth in our lives. Let's talk about her culture and the history a little bit. In Roman culture, Veritas symbolizes the value placed on truth and integrity. The Romans believed that truth was essential for maintaining social order and upholding justice. Veritas was revered as a guiding force in legal proceedings such as like getting yourself out of a criminal allegation.
Yeah.
Ensuring the pursuit of truth and fairness. Her presence in Roman society reinforced the importance of honesty and transparency as core virtues. Veritas' symbolic representation in fables and paintings further demonstrates her impact on society's moral fabric. Fables often highlight the consequences of dishonesty and the rewards of embracing the truth. Additionally, paintings showcasing Veritas dressed in white serve as visual reminders of the importance of history and the pursuit of truth in one's actions. Veritas also makes appearances in Roman novels like The Golden Ass by Aplueus, touched upon the themes of truth and deception, portraying Veritas as a key character. These narratives serve as cautionary tales, exploring the consequences of falsehood and the triumph of truth over deceit. Veritas' inclusion in such novels reflects her enduring significance in literature and storytelling. Her legacy extends beyond ancient cultures and continues to influence modern society. Her symbolism resonates in various forms of media, including movies, TV shows, and literature. Artists and writers often draw inspiration from Veritas to underscore the importance of truth, authenticity, and ethical behavior in today's world. The teachings of Veritas encourage individuals to prioritize truthfulness, integrity, and transparency in their personal and professional lives. As we explore the symbolisms and significance of Veritas, we gain a deeper understanding of the timeless value placed on truth and the enduring impact of this Roman goddess on society as a whole.
That kind of interested me when, you talked about that story, The Golden Ass by Apuleius. I looked it up real quick just to see what it was. I wanted to see if there were any parallels between that story and Sally and the whole practical magic.
Okay.
I don't know if it does. It just popped up just now, so I just wanted to read it real quick. So the Metamorphosis of Apuleius, which Augustine of Hippo referred to as the Golden Ass, is the only ancient Roman novel in Latin to survive in its entirety. So the protagonist of the novel is Lucius. At the end of the novel, he is revealed to be from Medorus, the hometown of Apuleius himself. The plot revolves around protagonist's curiosity and insatiable desire to see and practice magic. While trying to perform a spell to transform into a bird, he's accidentally transformed into an ass.
Oh no!
Yeah, this leads to a long journey, literal and metaphorical, filled with inset tales, and he finally finds salvation through the intervention of the goddess Isis, whose cult he then joins.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I guess it's like a long, he goes on different journeys and comes across different characters and learns different
Cool.
lessons throughout. But it's
All
all
right, Don Quixote.
he wanted to practice magic.
Nice.
So that was an interesting parallel.
Thank you for looking that up. I love that so much. It is hard for me as a people pleaser to not wrap my truth in something sugary. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. It's hard for me to say things straightforward.
Yeah.
Whereas my husband doesn't have a problem. Like, if somebody's like, hey, do you want to go do this, this, and this? Usually he'll be like, no, I'm probably not going to go do that. And I'm like, oh, like, we can check the calendar. At least I want to try.
Yeah.
But then I get roped into like, oh shit, now I actually have the time and I'm just waiting for this plan to fall through at the last minute.
Yeah.
But lately, I've been really, really trying to, like, as far as like the people pleasing thing, learning through therapy, like, are you doing this thing out of love? Or are you doing this thing out of guilt? And if I preface my sentence with, I'm going to be honest, it's a lot easier for me to be honest.
Yeah.
So just try that in your day to day and see how it works for you.
Yeah, definitely. There's no worse thing than doing something you don't really want to do because you feel guilty or you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But
Exactly.
I get it. I'm the same way. People pleaser, totally.
Me too.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about the language of flowers. Flowers had powerful meanings in the Victorian era, which we talked a lot about on this podcast before, and they were often given as a way to express emotions. In the 19th century, floriography, the language of love, became a popular way to communicate your feelings through a simple bouquet. However, meanings and traditions change throughout time and culture. Today, the flowers of the Victorian era do not have the same meanings they once did. In Victorian culture, flowers were the language of love. Learning the special symbolism of flowers became a popular pastime during the 1800s, when each flower was assigned a particular meaning. Feelings that could not be proclaimed publicly could be expressed through flowers, which is like a nice little sneaky way that the Victorians communicated their feelings, right?
But if everybody knows this language, it's not very sneaky.
But what if not everybody knew this language? What if you had to be part of like the cool club? What if you
The
had
upper
to,
crust.
yeah, or be one of those little, what are they called? The cunning folk, like the witchier people that kind of knew about these, or practice dark arts or some kind of
All those
magic.
people at the seances.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think Floromancy or the language of flowers was for your typical everyday muggle. I think this shit would have went right over their head.
Really? Okay.
This is just my theory, my interpretation.
All right.
I don't know. I wasn't alive in the 1800s, but it makes sense.
I think you were.
Why would everybody know about this secret language of flowers, right? You know?
I don't know. I think in like high society, if your whole life is about debutantes and like high teas and shit, those bouquets that you're putting on your table have to say something and everybody knows what they're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, so as a popular pastime during the 1800s, each flower was assigned a particular meaning. Conservatories were built to house exotic plants while floral designers dominated interior decoration. Nearly all Victorian homes would own at least one of the guidebooks dedicated to the language of flowers. Okay, so I guess everybody's
Everybody's in
knew.
on it.
It was just like an unspoken truth or word then, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah. The authors of these guidebooks used visual and verbal analogies, religious and literary sources, folkloric connections, and botanical attributes to derive the various associations for the flowers. For example, bluebells stood for kindness, peonies meant bashfulness, rosemary was for remembrance, tulips represented passion, and wallflowers stood for faithfulness in adversity. However, plants could also have negative meanings such as aloe, which meant bitterness, pomegranate, which meant conceit, or the rhododendron, which meant danger. Flowers also varied based on their colors. A white violet meant innocence, while a purple violet would symbolize that the giver's thoughts were occupied with love about the recipient. Sending and receiving flowers was a way to show like or dislike towards suitors. If given a rose to declare devotion or an apple blossom to show preference from a suitor, one might return with a yellow carnation to express disdain. If it was an undesirable suitor or straw to show a request of union. Myrtle was used to symbolize good luck and love in a marriage. In 1858, Queen Victoria's daughter, also named Victoria, carried a sprig of myrtle taken from a bush planted from a cutting given to the Queen by her mother-in-law. This began a tradition of royal brides including myrtle in their bouquets. Most recently, Prince William's bride, Kate Middleton, included sprigs of myrtle from Victoria's original plant in her own wedding bouquet.
Wow.
It's crazy that they still have that original plant just laying around the fucking...
They keep everything.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's just tucked away somewhere in Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
They probably have it like gated off and it's like
Place is
only
massive.
used for bridal bouquets now.
Yeah.
Yeah. In addition, it was fashionable to display the bouquets of meaningful flowers in what are known as posy holders. These bouquet holders often had rings or pins attached to them so they could be proudly worn and displayed by their owners. Bouquet holders were made out of brass, copper, gold, gilt metal, silver, porcelain, glass, enamel, pearl, ivory, bone, and straw, and often had intricate engravings and patterning.
You know Meghan Markle didn't have access to that secret myrtle.
Do you think Princess Diana did?
Ooh. I'm going to say yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Maybe, maybe not.
I don't know, because Princess Diana, like, I don't think the royal family liked her very much either.
I think maybe that is their language of flowers way of being like, we don't like you.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know anything about the royals.
I'm looking it up. Princess Diana's floral arrangement was made up of gardenias, stephanotis, orchids, lily of the valley, Earl Mountbatten roses, freesia, veronica, ivy, and myrtle. It did have myrtle in it.
Did have myrtle.
Okay. All right. Well,
Wait,
there goes
look
our
up,
theory.
look up what was in Meghan Markle's bouquet.
Okay.
I'm curious now.
All right. No myrtle.
Shut the fuck up. No myrtle?
Astronatia, Estebelle, sweet peas, forget-me-nots, and lily of the valley. They snubbed her.
Oh shit. They were like, no myrtle for Markle.
No myrtle for Markle. Dang.
That's
Savage.
Yeah, that is savage. Tell us how you really feel without telling us how you really feel, royal family,
Yeah.
with the secret language of Victorian flowers right there.
Impressive.
That is impressive.
Goes deep.
And like I'm saying, nobody in the mainstream would look at her bouquet and be like, oh my God, there's no myrtle.
But now we know.
But now we know. We're in on a secret that
Wow.
didn't even know that we're in on. It's crazy. All right. Good to know. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about the Paperwhites that Christina was talking about earlier from the film. That word is so hard to say with canker sores. It's like Paperwhites.
I'm sorry.
Paperwhites.
No.
So yeah, we already talked about roses in the past, so we're going to learn a bit more about the only other ingredient we see in that Amas Veritas love spell in the movie. So like daffodils, Paperwhites, are a type. Every time that word comes up, I'm gonna let you say it, okay?
Okay.
So they are a type of narcissus. They're closely related to our sweet daffodil we just covered in episode 74.
Paperwhites.
Thank you. Narcissus are the flower of December, as in the wild. They do bloom in the winter months, but these days they symbolize good wishes, respect, and faithfulness. According to florography, receiving narcissus means the recipient is the only one.
Oh, true love.
Yeah.
Paperwhite history.
Thank you. I was waiting. The narcissist, oh god, this word,
Piperaceous.
Hyperaceus, more commonly known as the,
Paperwhite.
is a perennial plant, oh my god, so many P's, my mouth, perennial plant predominantly found in parts of the Mediterranean. Holy shit.
You got it.
Countries such as Portugal, Morocco, Algeria, and Greece have the largest plantings. It is a strongly fragrant plant with quite a history of usage in perfumes. They are relatively small plants, growing only between 1 to 1.5 feet on average. They are almost exclusively white with lovely delicate petals growing in bunches atop a small green stem. There can be up to 15 flower heads on each spike. The narcissus family is quite poisonous and best kept away from other plants, so keep in mind that if you're thinking to add them into your garden.
Paperwhite symbolism.
The narcissus flower received its name from the god Narcissus. It is said in Greek legend that he was so beautiful that every woman who laid eyes on him fell deeply in love, but would eventually take their own lives due to his not caring for them.
Damn.
Yeah, he would just ghost these women and...
The ultimate Chad.
The ultimate Chad. And as punishment, the gods cursed Narcissus to gaze at his own face in a lake for all of eternity, eventually leading to his falling in love with himself. He then took his own life and was then turned into a flower. And the flower has come to symbolize narcissistic tendencies, selfishness, and rudeness. The yellow variety are given to lovers who tend to be insecure and jealous.
Planting a paperwhite flower. Paperwhites
Are generally found in areas with lots of grass or rocky land with lots of sunlight and well-drained soil. In more colder regions, it is best to grow them indoors. Keeping them in a cool storage area until you wish to force them into blooming is recommended, as many people like to have them blossom in December. Just make sure not to store them there for too long, as they begin to lose strength after 2 months or so. And once you are sure when you wish when you want them to bloom, all the plants need are some water and heat, and within a few days they flower beautifully. Place them within a vase or a pot and add some stones to keep them steady and fill it up with water, and voila! They are very simple to maintain, just make sure not to completely cover the bulbs when planting. So traditional European witchcraft's power and subtlety. Traditional European witchcraft is not always overt. Instead of visible rituals, witch spirituality is often internal, an ongoing shamanic journey through life. Visible manifestations might be, as an example, enjoying one's day. Another visible manifestations might be attempts to make a positive difference in the world. So visible manifestations, I guess that means that the ritual will result on the mundane plane. They can be quite striking even through the rituals that are not always so impressive. So practical magic, basically.
Perfect.
Right? Using everyday little things to help you manifest your spell work, like putting cinnamon in some coffee, or like doing
Totally.
Sally's little Amas Veritas love spell, picking rose petals, sending them into the moon, like,
Sweeping off your porch, sweeping from the back to the front, opening your windows when you're saging, like little things.
Exactly. So those things might even have more of a powerful effect than all this hoopla and grandiose ritual, right?
Yeah.
So it's those little things that could be so much more powerful than what you might even be able to ascertain. I don't know what the right word is. So growing these
You can do it. I know you got this.
paperwhites. Paperwhite. It's just a weird like shape going like this. Paper.
Yeah, your mouth wants to smile. All right.
Yeah, and it keeps rubbing up against that.
Okay.
So growing paperwhites unfolds as subtle rituals throughout the dark time. The rituals include contemplations, but they are more than thoughts in my head. I guess this is from the author's perspective. These musings are enmeshed in magical spells and thus shift energy and the energy of the home, blessing it. The magic might help bring prosperity and wisdom about challenges one faces and just about any other blessing. So this author says, not only do I remember that I am their child reborn, I experience the rebirth in all its glory and power as the Paperwhites ritual develops over the later dark months. I experience being held lovingly close by my goddess, the fairy queen, as well as by the fairy king. I need this experience because I can get sad, which is what seasonal disorder during the winter, and the paperwhite magic mitigates that. That's interesting. So I guess if you guys are affected by the winter months, try using some paperwhites in your magic. Yeah, so paperwhites rituals are hearth magic. Kitchen magic is often viewed as shallow and not very powerful. It can be one of the most powerful magics on the planet. And this author goes on to say, I teach a kitchen magic course that goes deep, deep, deep. So like we were saying before, some may pass soft practical magic as like, it's the simple little mundane things. Maybe it doesn't mean a lot, but it actually probably has more of a powerful effect on your personal magic.
Absolutely.
We find fairy secrets in many ways. We lose them if we become ego-ridden and think the only way we can claim them is to boast of them, shouting from the rooftops. We lose them unless we have the humility to hold them close in simple practices. And this author says, this is from stardrenched.com, by the way. I'm not sure who the author is, but that's their website. And they say, all of my classes embody the fairy secrets and include lessons about the various ways you can find fairy secrets as well as ways you can maintain them in your life. Several of my courses do this without any other lessons, including the term fairy secrets.
This says fairy witch Francesca de Grandi is a best-selling author of Be a Goddess. She offers classes, psychic readings, and healings. Her goddess spirituality embraces practical magic spells. Trained from birth as a shamanic family tradition of Italian and Celtic witchcraft, her witchcraft is an ancient fairy shamanism. An Italian witch is also known as a strega, and Francesca equates fairy witchcraft with fairy shamanism. That's so cool.
I love that. So, all right. So this next little bit is actually from her too. So I guess it's from her best-selling book, Be a Goddess. She gives a little bit of spell work that you can do with some paperwhites.
Unless that traditional European witchcraft was from floraqueen.com. Let me check.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Flora Queen was what you just read, and then the Francesca is this one you're going to read now.
Okay. All right, so this next little bit, Francesca de Grandis gives us a little bit of fairy spell work you can do with some Paperwhites. And yes, she is the best-selling author of Be a Goddess. I guess this little bit is from that book. I'm not sure. So Francesca says, I developed a ritual that is the growing of Paperwhites. It is one of my year wheel practices. Now I consider growing Paperwhites to be among the fairy queen's magic spells for the fall and winter months. See, like when I work my fairy magic, because I also incorporate fairy magic into my own practice, I always, maybe because of Beltane, I always associate fairy magic with like spring and summer.
Same. Yeah. But
Yeah.
this is a really good way of, I never think to put these kind of bulbs like the Paperwhites, the is it amaryllis, any of these inside in a glass with water to keep that like going before the season comes around.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Francesca considers the fairy magic, I guess, part of her fall and winter month practice, which is really cool. And it's really cool, like, for everybody who does consider fairy magic more spring and summer, like I do. This is a good way to show you how you can incorporate fairy magic even through the fall and winter months, because I never, I was like, how do I incorporate fairy magic into those
The dark half.
darker months? Right. Because I always associate fairies with like light energy and like, sunshine, all that stuff. So she says, over the dark months of the year, the ritual unfolds and it gives me many blessings. For example, the bulbs I started a few weeks ago will bloom in the dark of the winter. The flowers' bright star shapes and the luxurious scent will lift my spirits from winter doldrums. Lovely flowers lift the spirits, but my Paperwhites will do it all the more because I add ritual elements to growing them. They'll also remind me that the winter darkness is the goddess's womb, which is so true, right? This understanding can be a bit of an antidote to depression caused by the winter darkness. The ritual elements I add allow the Paperwhites to help me experience myself as her luscious, beloved child within that womb, that winter darkness. The experience is an effective antidote. And the blossoms also remind me that in the winter darkness, I am a bright star reborn every year. So it's kind of like she's taking that spring and summertime energy and kind of holding it and kind of enclosing it for those darker months to get her through those darker months, because seasonal depression it's real. Like,
I know you feel it. You're just antsy for that heat.
especially if you live in like a colder climate that like the winters are just a little more harsh, and having that mindset can really help you get through those times, remembering that we need the dark as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like plants can't grow all the time. They need to store that energy, which makes me think of when we did our Beltane ritual and we infused our candles with the sun of the hottest time of the year. And then I reused mine over the winter to try to just pull that back into my studio, pull in that warmth, just as a reminder, like it's all cyclical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So try that out, guys. If you guys are affected by seasonal affective disorder, definitely give that a go and see if it makes a difference in your mental headspace to get you through those darker times of the year, which is not always easy, but it does help. It does help when you kind of like shift that mindset a little bit.
Yeah.
And even going more introspective too, it helps, like journaling a lot more, planning for the warmer months, and visualization, just visualizing those warmer months. All those little things help.
I think I have reverse seasonal affective disorder because like in the dead of summer, I get so bummed out. I'm just tired of sweating and like having to shower all the time.
Well, yeah,
And
you live down south, so it's hotter down there, right?
it is a little hotter. And I think having the garden, though, at least it's something that I feel productive. I'm like, okay, at least I've helped nurture something. I'm feeding myself. And if I'm a little sweaty, at least I contributed to the ecosystem somehow and my body. But like in the summer, man, I just get real fucking pissy.
AC, air conditioning, is a wonderful invention.
Oh, I know. How's your AC in your car?
In my car, Avi fixed it, but since he did that, we have not had like a 80+ degree day. So I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for a hot day to really test it out. So
It's time to shine.
We'll see. Yeah.
Let's get into a little bit of the history behind Floromancy. It's also known as anthromancy, and it's the divination of flowers or flower petals. Flor?
Yeah.
Flor, coming from Latin meaning flower, and antho meaning flower in Greek. As any divination goes, Floromancy is based on that omens and messages can be distinguished from the folds and the petals of a flower or the encompassing flower itself. Much of Floromancy is used for love and romance and is incredibly Victorian in concept. Two flowers that had not yet bloomed would be paired with one another and kept in a specific place. Initials of lovers would be inscribed on the stem and then placed in a certain place. A person would then observe if the flowers intertwined with each other, thus indicating love and marriage. Another popular method of floromancy is plucking petals off of a flower and saying, so-and-so loves me, or they love me not. He loves me not. And the last petal that stays on the little flower is your true answer. So with the initial days of spring, the first flowers to be found or to bloom also possess relevance in floromancy and is determined by the days of the week. If found on a Monday, good fortune and luck is to come for the rest of the spring. Tuesday, efforts will be rewarded. Found on Wednesday, a marriage is coming. Thursday, take caution and be alert. Friday is wealth is impending. Saturday, misfortune has the potential to arise. And finally on Sunday, which is essentially the same as Monday, I guess, in there. So it's good fortune and luck. The actual flower itself is vital as well, as most flowers possess a deeper meaning. I'm sure all of us at one time or another have done the he loves me not, or she loves me not,
Right.
flower petal plucking. This is one simple form of floromancy, believe it or not. Searching for and finding a four-leaf clover and believing its good luck is another. All of botany is filled with endless lore, charms, and healing powers that can fall under the title of floromancy. If you want to dream of your true love, place a bay leaf under your pillow. Holly may be by the bedside rather than under the pillow. These can be used for the same thing at Christmas. Cultures around the world had their own types of plant divination. Anglo-Saxon folklore also suggests that if you offered an expected mother the choice between a rose and a lily, she would choose a rose if the baby was a girl and a lily if it was a boy. That's cool.
Yeah.
In Victorian England, it was said that individual flowers had specific meanings and a whole secret message which could be sent to your lover, and a bunch of flowers. A tussie-mussy or a nosegay is the name given to a small bunch of flowers, which was given as a love gift. During medieval times, they were carried around to mask unpleasant smells, both from the body and the inside of homes. They were created literally to keep the nose gay or happy. During Queen Victoria's reign, they were also a fashion accessory, and bouquets would often include the symbolism and hidden messages shown in the chart that would be included. So in Korea, young women worked with carnations to tell their future, placing 3 flowers in their hair. She would watch them to see which died first. The top meant her last years would be hard. The middle ones meant her early years would be hard. But if the bottom one died first, it meant her entire life would be hard.
Oh my God.
Secondly, a young woman could place a petal in her lover's hand to see if he had been true to her. Hitting the petal with the side of her hand, she listened for the sound it would make. Silence indicated he had been unfaithful.
Oh shit.
How do you say this word?
Oneromancy?
Oh, narromancy. Okay, so flowers are so important in our waking lives that they turn up in our dreams too. Dreaming of flowers can mean many things. Plants, trees that are good omens include jasmine, lilies, marigolds, oak trees, olive trees, palm trees, thistles, thorns, and wormwood.
There it is.
So, there it is. So that they are warned, the plants that are not such good luck include birch, cherry, plum, and walnut trees, dandelions, and withered roses. If you dream of walnuts, it indicates your love has been unfaithful in traditional divinatory meanings. Dreams that indicate a long life mainly involve fruit trees, apricot, apple, fig, and grape are all signs of good health. Dreaming of oak, which represents long life in all forms of divination, is also a fantastic omen. Healthy plants and flowers in dreams can represent growth and abundance, a literal blossoming. This might be in reference to either current projects or future dreams. And in psychometry, which I love doing, have you ever tried this? It's like you hold an object and you get a message from it.
We tried doing that in one of my full moon tea parties because one of my tea party attendees suggested we do this like night school thing.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the night school assignments was to do that, was to like see if you could get a message from an object.
Yeah.
It had you do 2 different ones, a plastic object and then like a more natural object.
Oh, cool. I like doing that practice. It's fun, especially when you get like a validating response from
Right.
whoever's object it is.
Yeah.
So getting messages from a favorite type of flower. This can be done by listing all favorite flowers and deciding from sight whether they are to symbolize who you are now or who you will become. Then a flower should be selected and held in hand with eyes closed. Trying to decipher the energy that one feels from touch alone should be written down, for that is the message that the flower is sending to you. So just listening to your little plants.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like, I know some people who practice any kind of plant magic or people who gather plants to use in their magic. They often try to connect with the tree or the plant or whatever it is to see if it wants to be picked or not.
Yeah.
I've seen people do that. Like, they ask the tree for permission to take stuff from the tree to use in their magic. And if the tree says no, then they don't touch the tree.
I don't do that.
They have like a really weird unspoken language with these trees and plants and flowers that they're working with, which I think is interesting because I just see a tree and I'm just like, oh, it's a tree. Like, don't get me wrong. I love trees. I think all trees have spirits and I hate cutting trees down. And when I see a tree get cut down, I get very emotional. But I don't think I could touch a tree and be like, can I pick you? Yes or no? And give me an answer. Like, I don't know if I could feel that communication like that. You know?
I don't know if I've ever asked permission. I typically don't, but I've come across trees. There's one specific. If you ever come to visit, we'll walk to it. Walking out toward the fields, you can see this tree like a mile away. It's like grandmama tree. And I was like, I'm going to get to that tree one day. And I walked to it. And like, I had to like kind of bushwhack a little bit, but I got there and it was just like
magical.
I'm just a blip to this thing. And it felt very
ancient.
Very ancient. And I was like, I'm just saying hi. I think you're beautiful. And it was kind of like not haughty, but kind of like I'm wasting its time. Like, I was like, ugh.
That tree has seen some shit.
It has seen some shit.
It might have even seen the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You don't know.
But as a gardener, you just know what your plants need sometimes. And that's, I think, Floromancy in itself. You and I talked about like fairy traps. I think you sent me the stairs in the woods thing. Was that you? Or was that Caitlin?
I don't remember.
Or have you seen the ferns? Like people have video of like a fern in the woods just like waving in the wind. And they're like, that's a fairy trap right there. That's a bad omen.
I did see recently on TikTok, now there's so much, people can do camera tricks and AI exists and like all this stuff nowadays, so you don't know what the fuck is real or not. But I recently saw a video where this guy was filming a tree, and in a tiny little hole in the tree, there was like a little fairy. It blended in with the tree, so it was kind of camouflage, so you had to like really look to see it. But it was like a little figure kind of like going like this.
Oh my gosh.
And then it runs back into the tree.
Oh my gosh.
Whether it's real or not, like I believe in the fae, like could be real, but also, the human part of my brain is like, that's not real. That's a camera trick, whatever. But then the child part of my brain is like, oh, that's totally real.
You're like, I knew it.
Yeah. I'll have to send you the video if I find it again. It's kind of creepy. Like, it's like, oh my God, if those things do exist and they're like just hiding in like this camouflage kind of like, weird thing.
Predator.
It's like, wow, they really are real. They're watching us at all times.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
Yeah, please send it.
Yeah, if I find it again, I'll send it to you. So yeah, let's talk about flowers in mythology. Do you ever wonder why flowers are left for the dead? In many Greek myths, the dead transform into a flower, and therefore flowers are a symbol of reincarnation and rebirth. Aphrodite's lover, Adonis, bled out in her arms, and her tears mingled with his blood and fell to the ground and sprouted to become a red anemone flower.
I love anemones.
The nymph Clytie was obsessed with the sun god Apollo even after he had taken a lover. She wasted away waiting for him and, upon her death, transformed into a sunflower so she could watch him rise and set every day for eternity.
Oh my God.
How romantic. Hyacinth flowers are named after the Spartan Hyacinthus, who was also a lover of Apollo. When he died, Apollo turned Hyacinthus into a flower so Hades could not take his soul to the underworld. We also know daffodils by the name Narcissus, named after the handsome man from the Greek myth who fell in love with his own reflection and the obsession drove him to death. In his place, the daffodil sprung up. The ever-famous symbol of Buddhism, the lotus flower, grows clean from mud, representing enlightenment and purity of mind. Many deities from the Hindu pantheon are depicted sitting atop a lotus flower. The love god and goddess from Greek mythology were depicted with roses, and poppies were associated with the god of sleep and the god of dreams. Remember that scene from The Wizard of Oz? And we just talked about, was it Lily of the Valley that we just talked about poppies?
Yeah, we were like, why would the blood make white flowers when it make red?
Right,
like poppy flowers?
Right. And we can't mention flower deities without mentioning the Roman goddess Flora, who is literally the goddess of the flowers. As any divination goes, Floromancy is based on that omens and messages can be distinguished from the folds and petals of a flower or the encompassing flower itself. but it has many different ways that you can use flowers to get divination messages, most revolving around love. Young girls used to pick daisies with their eyes closed. The number of daisies they picked would show how many years they'd be happily married. In Victorian England, two flowers that had not yet blossomed would be paired and the initials of the lover's name would be placed on the stems. After putting the flowers in a secret place for 10 days, the diviner would then observe a number of developments. For example, if one flower twined the other, it would indicate that people would be married. Also, in Victorian England, if a pregnant woman went into a garden, closed her eyes, and spun around, then picked a flower, the hue would tell the sex of the baby. A dark color meant it would be a boy, and a light color meant it would be a girl. The Romany people used chives in fortune telling, and I'm not exactly sure how they used the chives or what they did with the chives to do the fortune telling. This one's very vague. It doesn't say any more than that. Another omen that has survived to modern times is the gathering of flowers at Midsummer's Eve, and the good luck commonly attributed to the finding of the four-leaf clover, which we said before too. Though not so much associated with divination, it is a common concept that most of the world has adopted. Also, finding the first flower of spring is significant to anthomancy practitioners. The type of flower and the day it was found to determine the rest of the year. The day on which you find your first flower of spring is an indication of your fortune. So Monday is good fortune, Tuesday your ventures will be successful, Wednesday you'll be married, Thursday you'll make a small profit, Friday great wealth, Saturday bad luck, and Sunday good luck. And the type of flower determines the name of the one that will be attracted to you. For example, if it is a wildflower, the name will be same as yours. If it's a daisy, their name will start with, and if it's a tulip, it will start with a T.
I'm wondering if it's like a D, it'll start with a D. Like a daisy, it starts with a D, maybe.
Got it. If you want to know if your love is faithful to you, pluck a red poppy petal and place it in your palm, and when the poppy petal is hit by your fist, it will make a snapping noise if the love is true. Pick a random petal off a pansy with your eyes closed and ask a question. The number and direction of lines on the pansy shows you the answer. So if there's 4 lines, it means hope. If there's 5 lines, it means hope founded in fear. If there's 7 lines, it's consistent love. 8 lines, fickleness in you or those around you. 9 lines means a changing of heart. Thick lines bent to the right is prosperity, and thick lines bent to the left means trouble ahead. So let's talk about daphnomancy. Daphnomancy is a form of divination originating in ancient Greece. Place fresh bay leaves in an incense burner or open fire and concentrate on a question. And do this outside because, like we've mentioned before, bay leaves are very flammable.
Yeah, totally.
And you don't want to, make your house go up in flames over a little daphnomancy. If the leaves crackling loudly and burn brightly, it's a good omen. You can also throw a handful into the fire and watch the flame, and flames rising together is a good sign. 3 flame points means you'll reach a harmonious conclusion. 2 means you need the help of a friend, and a single flame means single-mindedness. So holly. Holly is used on Christmas, New Year's, Midsummer, and Halloween to help a person dream of their true love. Bay leaves are used for the same on Valentine's Day. Marigold flowers. Take some marigold flowers, a sprig of marjoram, thyme, and a little wormwood, and dry them before a fire and rub them into a powder. Then sift it through a fine piece of lawn and simmer.
Maybe like I don't know what lawn is. I'm thinking of like cheesecloth.
Oh, I
think
thought
it's
it meant
cheesecloth?
like a healthy patch of grass, like sift it through your lawn. That's what I thought.
I don't know.
I don't know what that means. Okay, so sift it through a fine piece of lawn. Simmer these with a small quantity of virgin honey in white vinegar and over a slow fire. With this, anoint your stomach, breasts, and lips, lying down, and repeat these words thrice. Saint Luke, be kind to me. In dream, let me my true love see. With this said, hasten to sleep, and in the soft slumbers of night's repose, the very man you shall marry shall appear before you. That's very Shakespearean, this
It's
spell.
beautiful.
Isn't it? The soft slumbers of night's repose? That's fucking
That's a
poetry.
song title.
Yeah.
Get on that.
I love the word repose. I think it's just like so...
Slumbers, night's repose.
I've used it in a song lyric before. Yeah, it's very
So
pretty.
cultured.
I just have a thesaurus. I mean... Anyone with a thesaurus can fucking make yourself...
ChatGPT, give me word.
ChatGPT, give me word! Do you think that's what Taylor Swift does when she writes her lyrics? She's just like, ChatGPT. But she approaches ChatGPT like, what's her face? The witch in Snow White. Mirror, mirror on the wall.
ChatGPT, here I am, let it be.
ChatGPT, give me word. Yeah, totally. Anyway, that's a really cool spell. Very Shakespearean, very That's pure
Very
poetry right
beautiful.
there. Very cool. And in Greece, there's also a game where children break through the rough outer shell of poppies, trying to guess beforehand the color of the poppy. And I guess it's before the poppy blooms, so you don't know what the color is yet. I've never even seen a white poppy, but it says if it's white, it is a bride. If it's red, it's a groom. If light pink, it's a mother-in-law, while deep pink, father-in-law, and rarely blue is a flower child. So I guess,
Oh.
does that mean a child out of wedlock? A flower child?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guess correct, you win the game, and good luck along with it. So,
We had the poppy fields out in California, in San Diego. So beautiful. That's why they sell like those packets of like California poppies because they're all like reds, oranges, and yellows. God damn, they're beautiful. I love them. I love like a light pink one though. Like they're so pretty.
I think I've only ever seen like the red ones in person, and I never saw poppies growing in the wild until I went to Croatia. And we
Cool.
did like a whole road trip like around the coast. And we got out of the car at one point because there was like a lookout point and it was so beautiful. And on the roadside, there was just like poppies and cornflower and it was just beautiful. I spent more time on that overlook taking pictures of the flowers
I bet.
than I
Yeah,
did
that's
of the
cool.
actual view in the mountains because I'm a sucker for the flowers. I tell you, like I definitely am inspired in my own magical practice by flowers. I
You're a
just think
flower witch.
flowers and fairies, that's my thing. Yeah. We have a couple more little paragraphs to read here. And then we're going to take a quick break. So, flowers are said to respond to a sympathetic or hostile environment and are affected by electric shocks. Professor Jagadish Chandra Bose of Calcutta's Presidency College experimented with the effects of electrical currents on plants around the turn of the century and was convinced that plants possess a life force or soul. The most recent proponent of Floromancy is American lie detector specialist Cleve Baxter, who wired 3 philodendrons to galvanometers on different occasions to see how the plants respond to nearby trauma. Baxter monitored the plants as he placed a brine shrimp in boiling water nearby, resulting in its instant death. Were you going to say
What? Wait, I gotta go up to. I lost my place, but that is what?
Baxter's galvanometer reading showed significantly higher electrical resistance when the brine shrimps were being killed than on other occasions, suggesting that the plants were responding emotionally to the traumas occurring nearby.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, attempts to reduplicate Baxter's experimental results have so far proved unsuccessful. So was it just
Oh.
coincidence then?
I feel like plants definitely sense like bad juju in the house. If your plants start dying and you're like, what this hasn't happened before, try clearing your energy and see
Yeah.
if that helps.
Can I
Right?
can I tell you something? So during the pandemic, when the pandemic started, everybody was getting into these hobbies, whether you did the sourdough starter or started a
Yeah, what you got
garden or
into? Yeah.
I started taking in a lot of houseplants because I felt like if I can't be of service to the world around me right now, I want something to. I mean, I already had Coraline. I had a cat at that point. So, like, I was in that nurturing headspace and I really, in that time of, I guess, seclusion, I felt like I wanted to nurture more things to make me feel sustained. So I started taking in a lot of houseplants. I got this African violet and it did beautifully for a few months. It was doing really well. And then, was it June or July? Avi's father had passed away
Mm.
and it died.
Dude, that man, don't even know him. Powerful dude.
Yeah.
Like all of this stuff that you guys said happened after, pre his passing,
Yeah.
and then that correlated afterward. Like,
Yeah.
geez, he's amazing.
Yeah. And like, I was trying to water it, trying to give it some fertilizer, and it just like, it couldn't. It
Oh,
couldn't handle like all of the energy
grief.
around just like grief.
Oh,
Yeah, it
yeah.
died. And it was kind of like the narcissist, the flower that we were talking about in the Brave Little Toaster cartoon. The Brave Little Toaster, he sees his reflection, he's like, oh my god, I have a friend. And then the toaster's like, nah man, I gotta go. And then it dies. It
Yeah.
died. Like,
But like if your house is you have house plants and your house is full of like cigarette smoke, those plants are not going to do well. Just like energetic miasma, those
yeah.
plants are not going to do well,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Flowers are living organisms. Like they can sense that energy. And who knows, do flowers have feelings? We don't know, but maybe they do,
I think they do.
right?
I think they do.
I mean, you hear about that apple experiment that we've talked about. Take
Yep.
2 apples, put them on a windowsill. You talk really highly to one, it's going to do well. You talk like shit to the other, talk down to it, it's going to rot a lot faster than the other one.
I try to be nice to the plants. If I accidentally like snap like a stem off of like my pepper plant, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Or if I'm like going to go in and like trim them up, I'm like, okay, everybody's getting a haircut today. Just let them know what's happening.
Just hyping them up.
Yeah. Haircuts. You're going to grow so strong.
I love that. So we're going to take a little bit of a break now, right?
Let's do
We're
it.
going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about superstitions surrounding plants.
We got unlucky plants, Floromancy, Divination in Africa, and some Floromancy specific products we're going to talk about, as well as our card pull. So stick around and we'll be right back.
Hey, little witches! The Steen is here. If you've been listening to our podcast for a while, you would know how much we love using the Practical Magic Inner Witch Oracle deck by Grounded by the Moon.
And now we want to share the magic of Grounded by the Moon with you, our listeners. Joseph Benitez Egerton, the creator behind Grounded by the Moon, would like to offer this very special 10% off discount to all who wish to experience the magic of his Practical Magic themed tarot and oracle decks.
But that's not all. He also creates other divination tools like tarot workbooks, deck bags and altar cloths, pendulum kits, oil blends, cleansing sprays, smoke wands, teas, and ritual kits.
And let's not forget about his custom handcrafted all-natural soy candles, where every candle is hand-poured and personally infused and charged under the light of the moon. They even come with a crystal.
And did we mention all of the ingredients in the candles are ethically sourced?
All of Joseph's offerings are just so magical. So go visit groundedbythemoon.com and use the coupon code Magnolia Magic for 10% off your entire order at checkout.
That's Magnoliamagic, so get your discount today.
Get that card pull.
Okay.
Should we pull from the botany deck?
There might be an Amas Veritas card in here.
Oh, that's right. I think there is.
Let's see. Yep, there is. Okay. Do you want to just read that? Should we just read that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the Amas Veritas card of the Inner Witch Oracle by Grounded by the Moon. And the keyword on it is manifest. Manifest and visualization. So it says, there is so much magic around you and in everything. More importantly, there is magic inside of you. Know, remember, and tap into it. You have the power to create anything you want or need. Focus your energy and set your intentions. Make magic happen. Don't just hope that things work out. Ensure that they do. That can be done through inspired action, like writing down your intentions, but also figuring out a game plan, how to get from point A to point B, what you are going to do, not sit there and wait to happen. You are going to do to further those intentions to manifest.
100%.
Yeah, so he goes on to say, remember to also do your part. Take the time to visualize a clear and distinct path as well as the next steps in your spiritual journey. Connect with, thank, and work in unison with the greater energies. So whatever tools you want to use in your practice to help you aid in that magic. So harness the magic and power that resides within, and when ready, release it to combine with the great universal energies. So basically releasing those proverbial petals into the moon, right?
Yeah.
And
just know that universe is going to handle it, but you have to be proactive
yes,
about those steps also.
100%. And the mantra on this card, if you need something to repeat to yourself to help you get in that mindset, you can say, I have the power to create and visualize my destiny. And if it helps, say it into a mirror so you can really connect with your own energy, looking into your own eyeballs.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's hard sometimes.
I see you, right? Like, we're going to make this happen, me and you, right? That's beautiful. So that's the card, and the whole symbol on the card is the hands holding the bowl of petals going up into the atmosphere. Yeah, there you go.
It's his manifest card. Abracadabra, bitch.
Abracadabra,
Like, you speak it, you make it happen.
That's right. Like that. Remember that Mariah Carey song in the 90s? Make it happen.
I think so.
She has a song called Make It Happen. I love
Make It
that song.
Happen. I recently bought a book called The Gardener's Folklore by Margaret Baker, and I can't wait to dive into this. I thought would be perfect to use in our Witch's Garden series, all about like the ancient secrets for gardening magic, because I'm sure that the Owens women had their own folk traditions. So I'm not going to get too carried away with the superstitions here in this section, because this book, each chapter could be like its own episode as far as superstitions and garden magic. But growing up, I can't tell you where I heard it, but a superstition we had was if the leaves on the trees are showing their bellies, a storm is coming. You know how that shift in the wind changes?
Yeah.
A storm's coming. Or if like cows are laying down, a storm's coming. Is this a superstition? Is it floromancy? Not with the cows, with the trees. Either way, we're going to talk about some more popular beliefs as far as floromancy. One we all know, which I didn't even think of, is knocking on wood. Knocking your knuckles on a piece of wood to bring good luck or to ward off bad luck. It's the maloikio, like the right? If you say something that you don't really, that you want to happen or you don't want to happen, knock on the wood.
Like when somebody says, I haven't been sick all winter, right? And then you curse yourself and then you get sick, but like you got to knock on the wood. So it ingrains like that, like, okay, I haven't gotten sick yet. And now I'm not gonna because I'm knocking on the wood.
Flip it and reverse it.
Right. Uno card.
Come on, baby, let me work it. Celtic cultures believed it woke the spirits inside the trees or the wood for help. While in Christianity, touching wood or knocking on wood refers to like the wood of the cross. And typically, I didn't even think of it, but like rosaries are usually traditionally made from wood.
Right.
There you go. You're putting your intention and prayers into that little bead.
Mala beads, right? Mala beads too, maybe?
Is that what they're, is that Sicilian?
No, mala beads, they use those in, I don't know if it's Buddhism or Hinduism.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
A lot of people who like have a really big meditative practice tend to use them a lot. I don't know if they're made of wood though, or if they're made of clay or something else, or resin. I really don't even know. But yeah, another type of, I guess, kind of bead that people use for their manifestations, prayer, whatever.
Prayer. Yeah. This one kind of goes against what Justina and I were talking about, but it says cursing your plants can help them grow better.
What?
But that remains, I say be nice to your plants. This is just a superstition that was listed. But talking to your plants in general is said to help them grow better. It's still up for debate. Some people just think it's like the extra oxygen you're forcing at their little faces. This one we just talked about, it was last episode, I think, is talk to your bees. Go share your gossip with your bees. And we just discovered some of the past occurrences like that really solidified the importance of telling the bees, that the bees showing up at the funeral or leaving the hive altogether when they weren't told what was going on.
You got to spill the tea to the bees so then they can give you the honey for the tea.
The honey. Yeah, it's a symbiotic relationship there.
Yeah.
Pepper plants, or peppers in general, are hotter when you plant them while you're mad at someone. And occasionally shaking peppers makes them grow better. I think too, with tomato plants, you want to shake them because it helps pollinate them, makes them stronger.
Okay.
Pick blackberries before September, or the devil pees on any fruit that remains.
Ew.
Daisies.
Fucking Dave Grohl peeing on your strawberries.
Oh, yeah. Daisies kept fairies out of your garden. Symbolizing plenty, apple trees were said to bring bad luck if you chopped one down. Stolen plants were thought to grow better than gifted ones, but we don't recommend stealing it. I mean, that's what it says here. I say go for it, whatever. Go to that Home Depot. You know those little succulent nubbies that just fall off and they're just kind of hanging out on the table? Bring those home and plant.
You can propagate
Go reroot.
those. Yeah.
In the olden days, it was thought that if you received a plant as a gift, don't thank the gifter, for it becomes bad luck. I guess you're supposed to thank them for the pot or compliment the color instead, or the plant will die. Okay, that makes sense. Hang holly leaves around the house kept evil spirits away, and as a charm against house goblins. They were also traditionally thought to protect homes from lightning strikes. The wood was used to control horses and hedgegoers. Horse thief. And hedgerows protected the home from witches. Just remember to ask permission from the holly tree before snipping those bright red berries or a branch or their leaves.
See? Permission.
Permission.
We're supposed to ask permission, but a lot of us don't.
Let's go back to that thanking for a plant thing. A little more here. It says that a common belief in Appalachia is that you should never thank someone for a plant or cutting. Some folks say it's just bad luck, and others say the plant will die. Either way, best to give a response like, "What a gorgeous pepper," instead of saying thank you. Foxgloves are often associated with fairies and witches. People once believed that foxgloves were associated with the fairies. Foxgloves grew where the fairies flourished, and planting them would invite fairies into your garden. It was considered bad luck to cut them. Today, some believe that the name foxglove may have been initially folksglove, as fairies were sometimes referred to as the folk, or like the little folk.
Yeah.
In Norwegian folklore, it was believed that they were named foxgloves because fairies taught foxes how to ring the foxglove's bell-shaped flowers and warn each other of hunters. Witches were reported to make ointments and balms from foxglove that allowed them to fly. We had a brooms episode, go check that out, season 1. Although foxglove may have never allowed anyone to physically fly, there is some tidbit of truth behind this belief. An herbal preparation called flying ointments were once created from various hallucinogenic and toxic plants and allowed the user to have visions. Just tripped balls like crazy. Just a heads up, don't consume any part of foxglove. Not recommended. Some more little superstitions here is to plant your corn when the oak leaves are the size of a squirrel's ear. We still include this one in our corn growing guide that they have here. Corn should be planted after your first average frost-free date, and you can usually count on the oak leaves starting to grow by then. Plant above ground crops during the waxing moon and below ground crops during the waning moon. Planting by the phases of the moon was once a common tradition and is still used by many gardeners. A common belief is that the moonlight increasing or decreasing each night affected which plant parts would grow best. Increasing moonlight, a waxing moon, was believed to encourage the growth of leaves and stems, so it is an excellent time to plant crops like tomatoes, winter squash, cucumbers, corn, and peppers. Decreasing moonlight, a waning moon, was believed to encourage the growth of bulbs, tubers, and roots, so it was a good time to plant crops like potatoes, carrots, onions, sweet potatoes, and flowering bulbs. Speaking of potatoes, plant potatoes and peas on St. Patrick's Day. In many parts of the U.S., it is considered good luck to plant these crops on St. Patrick's Day. This generally works well for folks in zones 5 or higher. Other folks believe it's best to plant potatoes on Good Friday. This says it's time to plant when you can sit on your garden soil without pants on and not get cold. We included this one in our very first garden series, Witch's Garden series episode. You remember that? So this is a funny old tidbit of folklore, but it still rings true. Many vegetable crops need warm soil around 60 degrees Fahrenheit to germinate and grow well. Soil thermometers weren't always as easy to come by as they are today, and gardeners have always been a determined lot. So take your pants off and sit on that ground. Show your asshole to the soil.
What was that called? Isn't there a name for that?
The practice of doing that?
Yeah, I think there was a name for that. I don't remember it though.
Okay. Fennel is known to ward off evil. Traditionally, people hung bundles of fennel over doorways to ward off evil spirits, witches, and demons. Some folks went as far as to stuff it in gaps and keyholes to help seal their home from evil. Planting peppers when you're mad will make the peppers hotter. And I've also heard if you plant hot peppers next to your tomatoes, it can give your tomatoes an extra little kick.
Like Fra Diavolo sauce right there.
What is that?
It's like a spicy tomato sauce, like a marinara sauce, but it's like got
love a
spice to it. And they usually serve it with seafood, which is really fucking good.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, this says, I'm not sure when this one got started, but it's a bit of fun folklore. Next time you're mad about the weeds or the wildlife getting into your garden, add a few more pepper plants and let us know how it goes if they're extra spicy.
That might even keep the animals away because the animals don't eat peppers because they know not to eat that shit because it's hot.
Aphids like my peppers. I finally got them under control. Yeah.
Motherfuckers.
I know,
So how did you finally get them under control? What did you do?
I sprayed everything hard with the hose, sprayed it all down because I was spraying the insecticidal soap because the neem oil wasn't working. I sprayed everything down with the hose, and then I sprayed the soil instead of the leaves with the insecticidal soap. So because they were coming up, I think, from the ground.
Okay.
That seemed to help. But now my artichokes have them, so fuck me.
Did you try the oil on your hostas? Did you figure out what was eating them?
Oh, you know what? I didn't even go check. I did put olive oil out there, but now it's raining, so I don't know. Yeah. I will have to go check. Thank you for that.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about some unlucky plants right now. This article is from naturehills.com on their blog. This calls Superstitions Rooted in Plants and the Truth on Growing a Successful Garden. So some unlucky plants, Nature Hills says, we don't believe in a bad plant, just a bad location or improper care for that plant. But in the old days, many plants were big no-nos in the garden. So a droopy daffodil was a harbinger of death. It's not true, but do deadhead your droopy daffodils right away. A banana tree. Remember he's talking about the banana tree in the exorcism episode?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where you're like, I'm like, peanuts, you're like, banana trees.
You were like banana trees, like peanuts. You're like banana trees.
Banana trees.
It's so funny. How'd you remember that?
Because I came across that clip on our Instagram the other day, and I just like, I have to watch this again because it's so fucking funny. Banana trees. So banana trees were once thought to have vampires living in them.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, very strange. Don't bring dandelions indoors. They can make you wet the bed.
Oh man. I think our lore we found out was don't bring a single daffodil in the house.
Yeah.
A bouquet of daffodils is fine.
Right. Yeah, very strange. Some of these are just really weird. Fairies will seek revenge if you pick foxglove and bring it indoors. Florists everywhere disagree, but I say if you have pets, don't bring any foxglove inside because that's very poisonous to your pets. And even like, even if you touch foxglove, it could probably make
Give you a little rash.
Skin irritation. Yeah, so I would just stay away from picking foxglove altogether. It looks pretty in the garden, so by all means, if you want more fairies in the garden, plant it in your garden, but leave it outside.
Yeah.
And most animals outside know not to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
And many plants fell out of fashion due to their bad rap, like Ahuga reptans. What the fuck is that?
What?
Ahuga reptans, also known as bugle and baby's rattle in German superstitions, which were blamed for house fires should the hapless homeowner allow the flowers to be brought indoors. In reality, ahuga are fantastic ground cover plants and are super beneficial to the bees, and no fire extinguishers needed if they're
Cute.
kept
I
out.
don't think I don't know what those are. I have to click on
Neither
that.
do I. It says ground cover plants, so I'm guessing if it's like kind of like an ivy or
Ahuga varieties. Ooh, they're pretty. They got like purpley flowers.
yeah.
Some of their leaves are very dark, like waxy looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's different ones too. There's like chocolate chip ahuga, bronze beauty ahuga, which looks more like a salvia, if you ask me. And then there's like the Dixie chip ahuga or the Caitlin's giant ahuga. Some of these look like catmint. Some of these look like regular mint. Some of these look like salvia. They come in all different varieties, but they are considered a ground cover. But according to this, don't bring them inside. It'll set your house on fire.
Yeah. Set your house on fire.
Like not physically, but superstitiously. The juju will set
Combustible.
your house on fire. And it was long considered unlucky to bring spring flowering fruit tree blooms in the house. But today we force these scented blooms for winter arrangements. And we can understand that if you pick too many blooms, you'll not have as much of a harvest. And back in the old days, you depended on as much fruit as possible to feed yourself and your family. But nowadays, you could pick as much as you like. White flowers were largely considered unlucky and harbingers of death, which is strange that we use them so widely in weddings and view them as purity now, and it goes to show how superstitions shift so quickly through the years. So like lilies, that's often used in like funeral arrangements. If we're talking pop culture, there's that one scene in Selena with Jennifer Lopez about the Latin pop star Selena.
Right.
She kept having dreams in that movie about somebody throwing a white rose up at her on a stage, and I don't know if that dream was based in reality. I don't know if she was really having these dreams and she told her family about these dreams. Like, who would know that she was having these dreams? Yeah, who would know she was having these dreams unless she told somebody about them? But it was used as a plot point in the film. And in turn, she does end up dying, which happened in real life. But that white rose in the film was kind of synonymous with that harbinger of death, that omen. Feng Shui teaches that where an object is placed is as important as what it is. Listing agave and cactus should both be kept out of the house, and the blooms of the hydrangea brought loneliness.
Oh.
Pothos sucked the good out of the environment, and thorns of Christ plants are best placed outdoors to ward off bad vibes.
Pothos? That's such a popular houseplant now.
Yeah. Creeper plants of any kind do not allow positive energies to enter your home, so I guess those are great to, plant outside of your front door, maybe. or anywhere that there's an entrance. And now our houses are full of them since they're wonderfully easy to grow houseplants and have more good health benefits than bad. It's really how you care for them that will either suck the life out of them or have them thrive. And that's all from naturehills.com. So we're going to dispel some plant superstitions. This says moss always growing on the north side. It says this is false. Do you want to know why? Moss does grow on the north side of trees, and it also grows on south, east, and west sides of trees as well. Moss may grow only on a north side of a tree if that's the shadiest location, not shittiest, shadiest, sorry. Shadiest location as the sun tracks the sky. If there is something else providing shade or moisture, the moss will grow in those places just as well. Moss is often found on the north side of a tree because it loves moisture and shade, but it will grow on all sides of a tree if the conditions are right. Rain often comes from the north on the northern hemisphere, and since the sun comes up in the east and sets in the west, the north side of a tree can often be in the shade. But in the end, if there is shade and moisture, moss will thrive regardless of the side of the tree. The next superstition, I guess, add Epsom salts to your soil to fix plant issues. Some gardeners swear it prevents blossom end rot, and it's time to debunk that myth. Epsom salts doesn't stop blossom end rot, it leads to more of it. Blossom end rot is caused by a deficiency of calcium. Epsom salt contains magnesium sulfate and no calcium at all, so it actually doesn't even help, I guess. Adding Epsom salts to the soil may create more rot since magnesium and calcium ions compete for uptake into the plant. The more magnesium in the soil, the less chance that calcium will be absorbed. So don't add Epsom salts to your soil to fix your plant issues. Just, I guess, focus on the calcium and getting the nutrients back into your plant. I guess by plant food or, I don't know.
Amend that soil.
Yeah. You can also crush up eggshells, that I guess is a good source of calcium, but Epsom salts, no.
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 All right.
And then general plant divination, we're going to talk a bit more about botanomancy, which is the art of divination by burning branches of trees or herbs. The most common branches used are vervain and briar, and the fire and the smoke are both red to indicate which course of action should be taken. Now, this is from Llewellyn.com. It says, plants have long been called upon to provide glimpses into the future. This form of divination, termed botanomancy, uses plants in innumerable ways. They're placed beneath the pillow to create prophetic dreams. They're sown and observed as they grow. They can be used as pendulums. They're tossed into water, air, or fire. Plants seen unexpectedly are responsible for a wide range of omens, especially those relating to the weather. Some plants have quite curious uses. The rationale for the use of plants in divination is clear. They are or were living things. They have closer ties to human life than most other tools of prognostication. Thus, they possess the ability to more accurately predict our lives. Additionally, certain types of plants have long been recognized as possessing specific non-physical energies, and some forms of divination capitalize upon this phenomenon. The author says, I hasten to add, however, that the belief in such energies isn't necessary to the practice of botanomancy. The following technique is within the realm of divination, not magic. So a general plant divination. Fill 5 flower pots with the same kind of dirt. Plant in each pot a seed of the same type of flower on the same day at the same time. Ensure that they have the same exposure to sunlight if applicable. For best results, do this on the day of the full moon. On a piece of tape, write an expected or hoped for future and apply this to the side of one pot. Continue until all 5 pots have been designated with 5 different futures. Small signs attached to sticks or twigs may also be used. Thrust into the earth near the pot's side. Water it as usual. The seed that first germinates determines the event that will most likely occur in the near future. So that's interesting. Another thing you could do to practice botanomancy, peel an apple with a silver knife so that the peel comes off in one long unbroken strip. Ask your question. This is what you were saying before. Ask your question, toss the peel over your left shoulder. Observe the shape it takes on the floor behind you. If anything other than an O or U, the answer is positive. I guess anything else, it's not good. Take a daisy, and as you remove each petal, say yes or no. The last petal reveals the answer. That one's kind of like an old school. Everybody knows that one. There is a lot more regarding plants, including the famous finding of a lucky 4-leaf clover. Seeing certain plants in blossom provide particular messages. Holly indicates good luck. Laurel, peace and goodwill. Myrtle, good fortune. Nettle, challenges ahead. Poppy is not good for some reason. Roses for love. And wisteria, your love is faithful.
This article is called Divination with Plants in West Africa by Anne Forner. The Semi make particularly abundant uses of plants in the field of divination. Diviners practice the art with the assistance of a bush spirit that comes to live with them at home. Plants serve as material support for settling this bush spirit in the diviner's home and as powerful objects on the divination scene. Each species of plant plays one or several specific roles. This article is based on extensive field research and the analysis of the meaning of the plants used in divination, names in the semi-language ritual use. It describes the role of plant species and their symbolic roles in settling the bush spirit in the diviner's home and during the divination process. Although similar to those of our societies located in the Volta River Basin, the semi-divination practices show some original aspects. This article demonstrates that plants are essential material supports along the semi of Burkina Faso, West Africa, for building the relationship between a diviner and a bush spirit. And in conducting the divination sessions, it explains the symbolism of the plants that are used and the presence of the beliefs on which the symbolism is based. Here is the divination method. The divination can take place in the house of the bush spirit. And bush spirits, or genies in the French translation for the local language, are invisible beings endowed with the power of transformation. They live their lives almost like humans, but their bodies and behaviors show distortions and inversions compared with those of humans. The courtyard of the diviner, so this is back at the house of where the bush spirit is, the courtyard of the diviner or the courtyard of the client. The client does not explain the reason he has called for the diviner. In the divination process, the diviner asks the bush spirit questions, translates the answers, and then interprets them for the client. The bush spirit's, quote, words are materialized by 6 cowrie thrown on a flat black stone and by the movements of a forked wand that is rubbed on the stone. After taking out his materials from his bag, the diviner performs gestures of salutation to the seme's creator and cleans the stone ritually. Then he checks for the first series of throws, that each of the cowrie is ready to speak and that the bush spirit is present. He greets the cowrie lined up on the stone with small plant fetishes, which he then deposits on the stone near it. The diviner and the client each hold a branch of the forked wand, and while rubbing the wand back and forth on the stone, the diviner asks questions. When the words are true, the wand slides, but when he is mistaken, it stops. Every answer is checked by throwing the cowries. So the union of a man with a bush spirit requires that he be connected to the bush spirit through a process of initiation, and it is the bush spirit, not the man, that makes the decision. It's kind of like Bumble, a little bit. Semi-person who experiences problems or misfortune will react by consulting a diviner who may explain that a bush spirit has decided to settle in the person's home. This person must then become part of a group of followers for this bush spirit. The details of the welcome ceremony for the bush spirit are identified by divination. The Teyin no, meaning mother of the bush spirit, sacred site where it lives, the day that it will be favorable, and the plant species that are suitable for making its altars. A small house is then built in the family courtyard, and a branch of the tiny car tree, the gardenia, I guess, is plunged into the top of its straw roof. When the day comes, a group of male followers of the spirit go to the tiny no site to perform a blood sacrifice. Check out our blood series. So plant material that will be used to settle the bush spirit in the novice's home is collected along the way, especially 2 branches of roots that must be presented at the Taino site. I'm guessing that's how you say it. And one of them is partially burned. As any male novice is potentially a diviner, the items necessary for divination are also presented to the site and activated. Each follower places a crown of the Barn Bael Casitha Philophoremus liana on his head. Could you look up what that is?
Yeah.
If that has an English translation. Liana on his head, and the group goes back to the village. Back at the house, the novice, the initiators, will shake down the bush spirit. A French translation is included here by the seme of a special occasion. There is actually a pair of bush spirits. Initiators build a first portico about 60 centimeters high outside the family courtyard, which represents the male spirit. They plant 2 forked pickets in the ground and place some cross pieces on them. Some of the lianas that were used as crowns are wrapped around the cross pieces, and then branches of the tiny car are placed on the lianas. After performing various sacrifices, they build a second portico inside the house representing the female spirit. Under this altar, up to 3 small pots are placed in hollows in the ground, and another bunch of roots that are not burned is deposited in them. A small forked root, which was gathered separately and will form a part of the materials used in divination, is placed across one of these pots. The remaining crowns are wrapped around the cross pieces and a branch of the tiny car is deposited on them. Other sacrifices are made on the altar and the pots are filled with drinking water for the bush spirit. From now on, they must never remain empty because the bush spirit is supposed to be living in their house. So they're using this bush spirit, which the bush spirit decides whether it wants to live in that house. When it lives in that house eventually, they have to take care of it. They have to always feed it, I guess, in order for the divination, the message to come from it.
Yeah.
What I'm getting?
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't find anything else on that.
That plant.
Yeah. All right, so we just have a couple more little things to share with you guys. There are some Amas Veritas products that I guess some practical magic fans have created and are selling on their online shops. This first one comes from wicked-good.co, and this is like a air spray, I guess. This is called the Amas Veritas.
It's a perfume.
Yeah. Amas Veritas is a powerful love spell, as we talked about on this episode. A magical brew of sun-warmed figs, white tea leaves, jasmine, heliotrope, white sandalwood, and a hint of white iridescent glitter. Ooh, that sounds like it smells really good. I guess if this is like a body spray, then you get that little shimmer of glitter on your skin, which
Cool.
sounds really pretty. So this was inspired by, obviously, inspired by practical magic and the rules of magic. Yeah, and they quote Sally here: "He will hear my call a mile away. He will whistle my favorite song. He can ride a pony backwards. He can flip pancakes in the air. He'll be marvelously kind, and his favorite shape will be a star. And, can't forget, he'll have one green eye and one blue." Some of the notes from this spray are pink guava, red mango, lotus blossom, heliotrope, sycamore wood, and the style of the spray is magical, uplifting, and enamored. So it looks like it smells really good, and it comes in a really pretty small bottle with a gold little spray pump and cover, and that is wicked.good.co. We will link that in our show notes if you guys want to check that out. The next thing is from the Enchanted Journal shop. Our Auntie Laura creates some beautiful practical magic goodies on her shop, and this is a framed, like a shadow box kind of deal, right? And it is the True Love spell, the spell, Sally spell from Practical Magic, with flower petals. She has like a little wooden bowl cut out. It's really cute. It's like a little shadow box, I guess a keepsake you could hang on your wall. Each framed quote is made by hand with pressed hydrangea petals and a bowl cut from real wood veneer. The black wood frame measures 9 by 11 inches with deep sides for a shadow box effect and ready to hang on your wall. And she says, "Please note the petals have been pressed using traditional methods and the colors will fade over time and very quickly if hung in direct sunlight." So keep that in mind if you're hanging this in a sunny room. She's got Victorians hugging on here. She's got a little key on here, a horse, or like, because he could ride a pony backwards, a star. And what's that? The man on the bottom is
It just looks like a man.
just a man's face.
Yeah.
Next, we have this, it's a color-changing love potion and spell prop. And this is from grimsweetnessapothecary.com. And on their product description, it says, "The watching of practical magic is something I look forward to each year. It's just my favorite feel-good autumn movie. This potion channels the feelings of hope and love that wind through the movie. This is a flask-shaped glass bottle full of twilight blue potion with white flower petals floating in it. And the flower petals are polyester. They are not natural flowers. And it changes to a swirling lavender with pink hints and strong gold highlights when shaken. It settles back to blue in about 20 minutes if setting still. Silver tone chain loops around the neck with a witch hat metal charm and a scroll metal charm that holds the Amas Veritas spell scroll. It's hand-designed and the aged label reads, 'A potion and spell of true love will draw or repel love,' and it's sealed with water-resistant sealant for durability, and the neck is wrapped in aged pink twine that's been lightly bleached to give it a sun-worn look. It has an aged cork that is sealed with waterproof glue and drizzled with blue and purple wax and stamped with a golden rose stamp, and the scroll spell is hand-aged on both sides, which reads the Amas Veritas spell. The whole spell is on a little scroll attached to the bottle, which is really cute. Also included is a small hand-aged sheet of parchment with the quote from the end of the movie sealed with a broom wax seal, and that reads, 'The end quote movie. There are some things I know for certain. The spilled salt over your left shoulder, keep rosemary by your garden gate, plant lavender for luck, fall in love whenever you can. And these bottles are intended to look old and worn. The creator of these bottles hand ages the labels so they are faded and stained. Some are more stained and older looking than others, and they just have a really authentic and magical look. And you can find them on Instagram. Their handle is grim_sweetness_apothecary. And they also have a TikTok, a Facebook. We will link all of their stuff in our show notes if you guys want to check these out. And they've got a couple different potion bottles up there, not just the Amas Veritas one.
They're
but
really cool
they
stuff.
are very cool. They
That is
look
so
very-
your style. Like that's like the stuff you have in your Halloween bathroom.
Yeah, very unique, cool apothecary bottles. And this one goes for $31 USC. Currently they are sold out, so I guess these are sound like hotcakes.
I
So
like hotcakes.
yeah, if you see
Cool.
these pop up, if they restock, grab one right away because I guess they go pretty quickly.
This next one is so cool. I didn't even think there would be anything like this. Wrapping paper. This wrapping paper is super cute. It is by mariaputinillustration.com. It will be linked. Yeah, it's blue, like watercolor looking, practical magic theme wallpaper. Perfect for those with little details. It makes gift giving so special. This is something that Justina would use in like one of her amazing little gift boxes. Or you can use it to make over an old notebook or any DIY you can come up with. It's a heavyweight 70-pound uncoated matte for a luster finish. And this will be linked. I love it. They have the Owens house drawing on this paper with a huge pink like moon behind it with a halo. They have Gary's star. They have the Midnight Margaritas cauldron or mixer, some petals that are coming out of a bowl, a little tiny frog. There's a little frog sitting on a rock with Jimmy's ring on it. It looks like there's a belladonna flower and a little witch's hat and lavender. Super cute. I love the paper so much.
That is adorable.
That's what we got for you today.
That was a pretty fun episode. I feel like this Amas Veritas spell, I feel like we're probably going to be coming back to this.
Oh, for sure. I was going to title this Amas Veritas, but I was like, that's its own thing. It was listed as its own topic in our notes. I was like, but I want to talk about the Floromancy just because we have a song-a-sode coming up for you that I've been wanting to do for a while, but it's perfect for springtime and it's probably, I say this every time, but it's one of my favorite songs and it's so beautiful. So we're going to have a song-a-sode for you. We didn't even do like a sneak peek this time because we want you, neighborhood of Magnolia Street, to show up.
Yeah, excited to get another song-a-sode out there.
We have new merch over on our Teespring. We have Thanks Jimmy, bye Jimmy
Wait,
t-shirt.
you added
hoodie.
it?
I added it. There's a die cut sticker that looks perfect. So I'm actually working on putting a post up for our Instagram right now. I want that sticker so hard. It's so cool. So
What?
check that out.
What imagery did you end up using? The frying pan, or what was the other?
I used the Circle of Brooms and one of those Memento Mori skulls with the wings.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thanks, Jimmy. Bye, Jimmy.
That kind of has like a little Beetlejuice kind of flair to it.
Yeah. So I did a dark one and there's a light one. And the stickers just like look so freaking cool. But it's
That's
on t-shirts, hoodies. Go check that out. I want to order one.
Thanks,
But thank
Jimmy.
you
Bye,
to the
Jimmy.
patrons. The patrons were helping with this one because I put it over on our Discord.
Yeah.
And I actually did not check it for a while. But you had said the frying pan would be a fun idea. And I think Lori and maybe Mallory or
Yeah, somebody else said
you know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Said the Circle of Brooms. I was like, perfect. Done. Dunskies.
Very cool. Very cute. Yeah, if you guys want to get in on our Discord and all the conversations happening over there, you can get in on that over on our Patreon. I think that's our $5 tier. You can join our Discord and our Facebook group and all of our little chats going on. If you guys want to, talk to us one-on-one, we've been having some really fun discussions over on our Wisteria Vine, right?
So fun. Yeah.
Yeah, so come have fun with us over on there if you guys want to do a little splurgy splurge. That is our high ticket item over there.
But you get so much. You get all the music stuff, all that
Right.
back catalog stuff. All of our lives that we've done all over there are still there. Our
Right.
meditations are over there. Our spells are over there.
Everything. We have a huge back catalog of stuff on our Patreon. So if you join our Wisteria Vine, you get everything under the sun. The full caboodle, full access to hanging out with us every day and chatting with us every day. And
Yes.
it's just a lot of fun. It's been fun over there. So yeah, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Magnolia Street Podcast. If you guys want to get in on the discussion, if you guys have any little tidbits you want to share with us about any of our episodes, you can email us at magnoliastreetpodcast@gmail.com, and we would love to chat about anything anybody wants to point out to us, something that we've missed, maybe that we miss a lot.
Just talk to us, guys.
Somebody talk to us. We're lonely over here.
When does this come out? Oh, bruh, this comes out the day before my birthday.
Happy birthday, Christina.
Big 3-5. Feeling
Holy
alive.
Are we feeling alive?
No, we're feeling like hot garbage.
We're tired. Guess that's all we got for you guys today.
Join us next week. I'm Christina.
I'm Justina, and
We'll
we'll
see
see
you
you
next
next
time.
time.
At the house on Magnolia Street, would you go down to Magnolia Street with the wisteria hero wild? At the house of magic and mystery, so would you go down to Magnolia Street?
Thanks, Jimmy. Bye, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy. Bye, Jimmy.